ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Tuesday, December 9th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for being a part of today's show. We are set to go with our text line. It is brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I forgot yesterday, so I've got to get it done today. I've got a pair of tickets to give you for the game tomorrow between Marshall and Western Kentucky. And since I didn't give away yesterday's pair of tickets, I'm going to make two of you winners today. So we'll get that text line going now. And again, that's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. You know, the rules are really simple. I don't have anything special like, hey, pick the score. What's the score going to be between Marshall and Western Kentucky? Who's going to score the most points? We can do stuff like that. But I just want to make this easy today, give you guys an opportunity. So the only thing I ask for the tickets, help make the show fun. And again, one more time, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. You know how this works. It's always better with you. Hey, we've got a good guest coming up today. I mean, let's be honest. There are good guests, and then there are good guests. And I've got the voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, Randy Lee, coming on the program. Longtime friend of the program. I was texting with him the other day, excited to have Western Kentucky come back into the Henderson Center. Thundering Herd trailing this all-time series, so Marshall's got to get some wins real quick. You know, this thing began, I was thinking it was the 1943-44 season, and all-time, Western Kentucky leads this series 23-12. Now, since 2004, if you push aside ye olden days of Marshall basketball, Western Kentucky leads modern era 13-8. Last time these two teams met, back on November 30th of last year, Western Kentucky won that game in Bowling Green, 90-82. So, the Thundering Herd looking for a little revenge. Actually, this is an important game for Marshall in my mind because Marshall is right now with Western Kentucky on an 8-game losing streak to the Hilltoppers. The last time this team, this Thundering Herd program, beat Western Kentucky, we got to go all the way back, I believe, to January 12th, 2019. It was a 70-69 victory for the Thundering Herd. Now, I do have a little faith. The Herd leads the all-time series in Huntington 9-7, slim margin there. So this is an important one. So I'm just trying to amp this up. I'm trying to remind folks, hey, this was the rivalry for Marshall basketball for a while. If you listen to any of Coach Jackson's comments, if you go and actually listen to it raw. You know, you go and get the questions and find out what we're saying actually before I come in here and clean it all up. We were talking about the rivalry aspect of this series. And Tyler Kennett, beat reporter for the Thundering Herd on HD Media's publications, he talked about this being when he was a student at Marshall University, and that wasn't so long ago, that it was Marshall and Western Kentucky. That was the rivalry. And that's what Coach talked about as far as just this is an important game. It's the next game. That means it's the Super Bowl. But this is a game in which there's a history between these two teams. But if you're Coach Jackson, all you're thinking about right now is winning this game.
Yeah, you know what? We'll treat it like any other game. You know, it's our Super Bowl because it's the next game on our schedule, and we've lost 3 straight now. So hopefully we come out with a little bit more competitive toughness and mental focus, competitive focus. You have to have the stamina, right? You have to have competitive stamina. You can't have it for 2 plays and then take 3 plays off. You can't have it for 4 plays and then take 2 plays off. You have to be consistent with those things. And I think that's what this team is, lacking right now. If I look at this skid, we should have won Wilmington, right? So, but you have to include them in the skid because we're down 3.
Coach Jackson's thoughts on this just being another game, even though it is the next game. It's the most important game. I'm sure he's going to say something to the effect that this is an important game for the Thundering Herd. You got to play these one at a time, right? Cliche as it might sound. So that's where he's at right now. For the fans, though, this is a big game. It should be a big game because when Marshall was in Conference USA and Western Kentucky jumped in, this took off. The two fan bases like getting after each other, like being one another's rival. There was a podcast when there wasn't podcast devoted to these things just about the rivalry. And, of course, I still refuse to call this rivalry the Moonshine Throwdown, but some of you did call it that. And so this is an important game for the Thundering Herd. We're going to talk with Randy Lee, the voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, in just a few minutes. And again, we'll get your texts in as I'm giving you a pair of tickets to go see the Herd tomorrow take on Western Kentucky. The only thing you need to know is that you got to pick them up tomorrow, and the office will close at 5. So if you can get down here tomorrow afternoon between 1 and 5, you can have them if you win. So that's the only stipulation I got to put on that is we open that prize vault at 1 o'clock. It is time locked. It does not open until the receptionist gets here. So we'll get your text in now, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Let's go to the text line early before we talk to Randy in a few minutes. Texter wants to know, what coaches will be let go? Do you have an idea? I don't want to speculate too soon because we haven't seen any announcements yet. I know there was something on Football Scoop the other day about Quint Cottingham no longer being the general manager for the Thundering Herd. And again, that was on Football Scoop, I believe, that put that out there. Nothing has come down official yet, and we're not going to get official announcements until probably after the new year. And if there are new additions and there are going to be players entering the transfer portal, obviously, and there's going to be coaches that are going to be looking for new jobs, all of that stuff's going to take place a little bit around the first of the year. Because honestly, there are coaches right now that are probably going to switch jobs that are coaching in ball games right now. So you don't want to pull the trigger too soon. And if you were a 5-7 team, just until yesterday, you still had a shot at maybe playing in a bowl game. So you don't want to make too many changes, but no, I don't have an honest evaluation yet of what changes might happen with Marshall football. I'm sure that there's going to be a restructuring to a degree. I think coach has got to get to a point where he's the head coach and he's not calling the plays on the defense. Of course, he's going to have his input. He should on both sides of the ball and, of course, special teams as well. But coach has got to be the head coach. You got to have an offensive and defensive guy that you feel comfortable with and getting the play calling done on both sides of the ball. So, sorry. That's my dodge of that question because I really don't have the details I can share. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Randy Lee, voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, joins us on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
You just can't stop once you've tried Scraggle Pop. Scraggle Pop kettle corn has become a favorite snack throughout the tri-state area, and they are now expanding beyond. This Christmas season, come visit Scraggle Pop at the Huntington Mall or get it from Food Fair and a number of great tri-state retailers. They have an assortment of delicious flavors like cinnamon, caramel, Chicago blend, and of course the original blend of kettle corn that started it all. Grab your favorite kettle corn blend along with frozen sweet tea, lemonade, or hot apple cider. Take home a beautiful Christmas tin for yourself or as a gift for family and friends. Scraggle Pop also offers mini sports team tins for the sports fan in your life. So check them out today at the Huntington Mall. Scraggle Pop now ships nationwide. Visit their website at scragglepop.com to send your loved ones a tin of their favorite flavor. You just can't stop once you've tried Scraggle Pop. scragglepop.com.
Hurt at work? Warner Law Offices is now here for you in Huntington on 4th Avenue, across from the courthouse. Personal, local, decades of experience.
Call 345-6789. You've cut back on everything and you're still coming up short at the end of the month. Give your local State Farm agent a call for a free discount double check. They'll show you how something as simple as combining car and home policies can save you hundreds of dollars a year. Being there to help keep more of your money is why your local State Farm agent is here. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
In Huntington, Jeff Smith, 304-781-1234. And in Wayne, Vicky Tabor, 304-272-5149.
This fall, let the Car Ferry bring a little magic to your driveway at Mark Porter Auto Group. With locations in Pomeroy and Jackson, Ohio, and Ashland, Kentucky, they make it easy to get into a safe, reliable vehicle. Every used car goes through a 117-point inspection, fall into a safe, reliable vehicle, and let the Car Ferry guide you to Mark Porter Auto Group in Pomeroy, Jackson, and Ashland, or shop 24/7 at markporterautogroup.com.
Kindred Digital and the Marshall Health Orthopedics High School Sports Network proudly present live high school basketball action presented by the Marshall Sports Medicine Institute. This Saturday night, watch live HD video of the Campbell Midland Knights as they host Buchanan Upshur. Watch live on this station's Facebook page or website and on the Campbell County Schools Facebook page. Campbell Midland versus Buchanan Upshur. Saturday night and only from Kindred Digital Sports.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Thank you, Dave. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, 10:06 it is, Metro News Talk Line right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Marshall getting set to take on longtime Conference USA foe, Western Kentucky. That's coming up tomorrow at the Cam Henderson Center. The Thundering Herd trailing the series, but the good news is for Marshall at least leads the series in Huntington 9-7, but that lead's been evaporating as Western Kentucky has won 8 straight in this series. And to tell us more about the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers is the longtime voice of the Hilltoppers, legendary Randy Lee. I'm going to emphasize that, legendary Randy Lee. How are you, sir?
I am good. Nice to visit with you again, Paul.
It's good to talk to you. It's always a good time when Western Kentucky comes back. And, of course, Randy, longtime friend of the program, we're happy to have you again. I kind of wish we could have this series every year, but it's always good to get it back on the schedule. And, wow, Western Kentucky's coming in loaded. You're having a good season so far.
So far, so good. I thought they played reasonably well in most of the games they've had this season, and I do believe the program will have a better year than last year for sure.
What do you think has been the biggest change from last year to get Western Kentucky to this point?
I'd say the emergence of a couple of players and probably overall team depth. Keegan Moore, who missed all of last year due to off-season hip surgery, has really had a great season so far. He's been the best player maybe in the conference. Came into the last game averaging 20.7 rebounds, 4 assists. And then a freshman who was not even starting on his AAU team, Armello Boone. He was the freshman of the week 3 consecutive weeks prior to this past one. 13 points, 4 boards. For a freshman, plays pretty good defense. The team's lost their point guard for a while, so each of those two have had to sort of fill in at that spot from time to time. They rotate different players running that particular position, and they do play quite a few players. There's more depth than we probably had in a long time. I feel probably those are the main reasons.
Tough schedule also. It hasn't been easy, and you look at where the wins have come from, those are expected, and some close losses as well against some really strong competition. So this is a legit team coming into Huntington tomorrow. I think the net's like a little bit over 100 right now as well. Okay. So, the schedule's been very beneficial to Western Kentucky at this point.
Yeah, the trip to the Bahamas was important, I think, for this team. And they were, of the 8 teams, they certainly were ranked lower than any of the 8, and they gave Vanderbilt, it was a very, very close first half. WKU led probably for the first 8 or 9 minutes, then fell behind by double digits, and then came back to cut it to 3 with about 6 seconds left. Vanderbilt had the ball, and then we fouled. They hit 2 free throws to win that one. So, they played pretty darn well in that game, and Vanderbilt's clobbered everyone before and after, and they're still undefeated. Second game is against South Florida. They were picked just behind Memphis in the American Athletic Association. That was one that got away from them. 7-point lead, a minute 12 to go in regulation. They lose in overtime. In an overtime session, had 7 lead changes. And then the final game, they beat Wichita State, played a really good especially last 15 minutes in that game. And then the Evansville game, the most recent one, terrible start. Did not play well at all for more than half of the first half, and then turned it on, and they were up 16 with about 12 minutes left and ended up winning it by 1. Evansville was down 3. They took a 3 with about 5 seconds left and missed it, and then they tipped in the missed shot at the buzzer to make it a 1-point game. So it's, it has been a good schedule, and at the time we felt like the Eastern Kentucky road win was good. It was the dedication of their new and improved arena and a big crowd, and had to rally from behind in that game to sort of take it over there in the last 8 to 10 minutes of that game. So it's not been a cakewalk schedule for sure.
I'm curious, as an aside, what's that new Eastern Kentucky venue look like, or that renovation?
Hey, it's nice. They used to have the big wall in behind one of the baskets, and that's out. And they've got suites up above the basket, and I think they've done a great job on that arena. It's lighter. I think it's fantastic.
Marshall, a little slight renovation, so a little different from the time you were there last at Cam Henderson Center. Little changes to the seat, but it's still the Cam Henderson Center, and it's hopefully going to be an exciting game tomorrow between these two teams, a Wednesday night showdown between a former foe. And if you're Western Kentucky right now, you're looking at this Marshall team, and do you think that this Hilltoppers team is drooling over the fact that Marshall, especially these last 2 games, has been giving up so many free points? You look at the free throw situation, Marshall is just giving free points away, or at least the officials are if you ask some. And then you look at what Western Kentucky's been able to do, not only ranked 4th nationally with 22.2 free throws made on 30.4 attempts per game, but you're also looking at a team that gets a lot of points off the bench. Let's start with the free throws. That's got to play into Western Kentucky's favor, the way that the Hilltoppers play and the way the Herd's been playing, especially these last couple of games.
Yeah, I'd say on paper that definitely favors the Tops. This is a team, I think, more than maybe – I can't remember a team that we've had in recent years that has more players that will take it off the dribble to the rim. This is a team that doesn't usually settle for a bunch of three-point shots, thankfully, because we don't really have a lot of good three-point shooters. So I think most of the players, for the most part, realize that. And like Teagan hasn't shot a lot of threes, he gets a lot of shots up, but he goes to the foul line about 8 or 9 times a game. And a lot of our other guys realize that they don't need to be behind the three-point line and jacking up threes if they're shooting a low percentage. And once in a while they'll get into that, but not like maybe some other teams we've had where they shot way too many threes. So if they get to the rim, that's the strength of the offense, and that certainly plays into a possible advantage. But I don't know how the players feel. The players feel like they can win every game at any time. But as an announcer, broadcasting for WKU, when I see a team's lost 2 in a row on the road and they're coming home, that's always worrisome for me, for the team I'm working for, because usually that's a hungry team coming home. They're mad, and they more times than not they play really well when they're back home trying to turn things around.
Now, I will counter that, and I'm of the mindset that it doesn't matter if you're mad or not, because Marshall and Western Kentucky is just like Marshall and Ohio. Throw the records out. None of that matters. Once the two teams start to remember that there was a rivalry once, I think everything's going to be pretty equal again. But Marshall, you look at the 3-game losing skid, I would have thought at one point Marshall would have gotten mad already. Sure, Ohio is kind of a different, quirky place to go to in the Convocation Center, but I still feel like this team is looking for its identity. And I look at a Western Kentucky team that I feel like it knows its identity already.
Yes, I would say that's for sure. Now, this team isn't the same as it was or maybe will be later when Terry Murdix is back playing. He injured his knee. He's the best point guard this program's had in a while, and he's out. So they're having to have different players run that position. You might see as many as 4 or 5 in a given point in time of the game look like they're the point guard because we just don't really have someone who just, okay, there's our backup, and he's our point guard for 30 of the 40 minutes until Terry comes back. It's by committee, really, depending upon time and score. You'll see it in Tegan Moore's hands a lot late, even though he's not really a point guard. He's played pretty well there. Armello Boone, they're sort of grooming him to be next up in line, and he struggled at that position against Evansville. They had to take him off the ball there for a little bit. A couple of other kids, Jack Evelyn 2 years ago, looked like he could be, a good backup, maybe 8 to 10, 12 minutes a game. He's not played well. L.J. Hackman was a junior college All-American. He's more of a scoring point guard or a 2-guard. And then you have, Myers, who had a terrific shooting game. He'll play a little bit at the point, a little, but he's more of a 2 than a 1. But if they need someone to get it across the timeline, get them in their offense, Ryan certainly is capable. But it's not like it was before when Murdix is running the show. Murdix missed 2 years with a knee injury, so he was on our team for 2 years and didn't play. And he comes out this year and playing really well, and then he gets hurt in the second game in the Bahamas. 4 minutes to go in the second half. I think Tops win that game if he doesn't get hurt. They fell apart with that big lead late. He's a really good point guard. So it's not the team. They think maybe he'll come back. It's his other knee, not the one he missed the last 2 years with. It's his other knee that he had surgery on out of high school. So doesn't have the best of knees, unfortunately, but he's a pretty good player. So without him, this team isn't quite as good.
Randy Lee is joining us, the voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Marshall at the Cam Henderson Center tomorrow will defend the home court against the Tops. This has been a fun series so far, but I was looking at the numbers, and I don't think I even realized that the Tops have won 8 in a row in this series. I hadn't realized it gotten to that point since the two teams don't play as frequently as I would like, but that's been an amazing run for two teams that really like to get after each other, and I would have thought at this point Marshall would have gotten at least 1 or 2 of those.
Well, the one that Marshall did get was the most important one so far in the series. That was the I'm going to go crazy and take this over game because I'm John Elmore and I'm going to win the conference championship game for us. That was an incredible performance that John Elmore put on in the championship game a few years ago, removed now, and that was a memorable night or afternoon.
8 straight, though. So the Thundering Herd looking for a win in this. Western Kentucky,
this has been an arena, a road play, road location that WKU's had some really good performances in. I mean, Charles Bassey had a great game here a few years ago. I remember he had a great block shot on the Marshall Super, the 2-guard, who was a tremendous player. Went in for a dunk, and Bassey blocked the shot, which I think helped turn the game around. And then had a freshman come up here, and his first game that he was eligible in, he nearly had a triple-double. And then a few years removed after that, and I thought really one of our better teams, we had a player who had a triple-double here, Darius Thompson. So there have been some special memories on the Hilltopper side of things at the Henderson Center for sure.
What is it about this series that makes it competitive, memorable? The two fan bases like to get after each other, not even conference rivals anymore, but what is it that still carries over to this day about this series?
Yeah, I think it's, at least we're by modern day standards, we're pretty close to each other. I think that helps. The football deal really, I think, fueled the entire thing. WKU gets in the Conference USA, and Marshall was certainly the team they were pointing at to try to get to that level. And they made it there under the Jeff Brom days. They won 3 in a row in this series, including the Black Friday game, the 67-66 overtime game that foiled Marshall's undefeated season. And I think all that bled over a little bit into basketball. And I think when they were in the same conference, neither team was winning the regular season championship, but they had tournament success. Marshall went to the big dance. WKU was in the championship game 3 years in a row. I think that each of the fan bases respect each other. Coaches recruit against each other. Not necessarily, I think, in the state of West Virginia or Kentucky, but maybe elsewhere. And then I don't know if the players, like our basketball players, we only have like 2 or 3. Well, I don't think they haven't played against Marshall. Now, Tegan Moore might know something about the series because he's from Eastern Kentucky. But other than that, I don't think our players realize or understand, what this series has been from time to time. And I don't know if the Marshall players buy into that as well, but the fans certainly do. The media does. And I think it's a good deal, and hopefully it will continue. I'd like to see them play football again. I think that would be a good deal, too. I mean, it's only 4-hour drive.
Randy Lee's with us, the voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. On that note, a little bit different from basketball, but a few months ago, when Texas State made its announcement it was leaving the Sun Belt, there was a wellspring of support for Western Kentucky to be the team to add into the Sun Belt, and a lot of Marshall fans got behind that. What was the response to that? And I don't know how serious those talks were, if there were serious conversations, but what was the response to that, knowing that there was a lot of Marshall fans pushing to get Western Kentucky out of Conference USA and into the Sun Belt or back to the Sun Belt?
But, Paul, I didn't know that, so I'm happy to hear that. I think it benefits both schools. It would be a natural travel partner. I think it's, well, of course, we're a little closer to MTSU. It's 100 miles away, but nonetheless, that would give WKU fans 2 games they would really look forward to being able to get in their car and drive to. The WKU's athletic department is certainly ready for that. The facilities are certainly at that level, no doubt about that. The fan base is at the Sun Belt Conference level for the most part, no doubt about that. But the thing that's being held against the school is the TV market. And also with the rumor that ULM is seriously considering dropping down in football, what we were told was the Sun Belt desperately needed another school in the West to offset that possibility of happening. That made Louisiana Tech a perfect fit.
Unfortunately, for a lot of Herd fans, when future schedules were announced and Middle Tennessee was put on the schedule, and again, I'm not taking shots at Middle Tennessee, but I think a lot of Herd fans would have preferred to have had Western Kentucky in those slots instead of Middle Tennessee. And now it was a good rivalry between the two, but it's always been for Marshall, Western Kentucky, whereas for Western Kentucky, I know the 100 miles of hate's still a thing, right?
Yeah, that is the game, but if Marshall was the other, Marshall would be 2. It would be 2, yeah. And back in the day when WKU was trying to catch Marshall in football, the fans who were probably 45 years and under, it was Marshall in those years. The older fans who grew up, it's MTSU or Eastern Kentucky, it was still MTSU. But the younger fans, the football series really took off. I mean, it was incredibly intense, and it was all because of the success that Marshall had when the Hilltoppers came into the conference. They were trying to get to that level. And then when they came up here on that Black Friday and upset Marshall 67-66, and then 2 years later came back up here again and, Jeff Brom's best team, and had an incredible game. They got to what they considered the mountaintop at that time in Conference USA in football. So the fans just loved the series, and it bled over to basketball. I felt too, but I felt like it was more intense, at least in South Central Kentucky for football, than it was for basketball.
Well, we've got the basketball version coming up tomorrow, and it'll be at the Cam Henderson Center, 7 o'clock tip. We'll have that game for you right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Randy Lee's joining us, a longtime voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. You've been at this like what now, 30, 20? How long have you been doing this now? It's been a long time.
You mean overall?
Yeah, it's at Western Kentucky. I know you've been doing it for a long time. I mean, you're only 29, but still, I know you've been doing it for a long time.
First year was 2007.
I can't remember a voice of the Hilltoppers prior to you, to be fair.
Well, that's because WKU and Western Kentucky never played Marshall.
Yeah, I would follow because Western Kentucky was always an interesting team, and the Hilltoppers, and it's just when I think Western Kentucky, I think you and a few other things because there was basketball success before Marshall and Western Kentucky even joined the league.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, and I remember talking to you, in prior years before we even dreamed of having, a conversation about a conference matchup between these two. But it's been an amazing run for you so far.
Yeah, very fortunate. I go way back to the days of the original Chili Willie's downtown.
Yes, sir.
And Julio's right across from campus. Can we go back in time just for a weekend so I can go to the original Chili Willie's? That's right, Chili Willie's, right?
I believe so. I think that's what you're thinking of, yes.
Yeah. And then the Julio's right across there, right across from the campus. Can we go back just for a weekend and bring those back?
Absolutely. Of course, we
You probably don't even remember either one of them.
I vaguely do. How old do you think I am? Give it a guess. You know, but don't hurt my feelings now.
Say 45.
Ooh, you're off. You're on the under, and I'll take that.
Okay.
54.
Oh, okay.
I'll take 45 though. Absolutely.
Well, maybe I had dyslexia and meant that.
I like that. There you go. That's the perfect answer. No, it'd be great to go back and hey, the good news is for you, the Tudor's biscuits is a thing in the morning for you now.
Oh, it sure is.
Yeah, I don't know where you're staying, but depending on where you're at, Tudor's biscuit in the morning, you can introduce the team to that. Have plenty of those. Weigh that team down, please.
Hey, there's been a lot of people I've told Tudor's to coming through here, so they've received a little bit of extra business because of my references and referrals.
Absolutely. Randy Lee's with us, the longtime voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Big plans tonight, I'm sure. Hitting the hot spots of Huntington or reminiscing with friends. I didn't tell the old professor you were on the show, so I'm going to find out real quick because he'll send me a critique of the show. Absolutely does.
Well, he won't be texting the critique. He'll be emailing.
Oh, no, sir. That is incorrect.
Chuck Bell text?
No, but his wife does.
That doesn't count.
He'll send it through
you almost floored me when you said that. I thought you were saying Chuck is now texting.
Yes, through his wife.
Believe that.
Yes, trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. If it's important enough for her to text me from him, I know I did wrong.
All right. Okay.
Randy Lee, my guest, the longtime voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Randy, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to catch up, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at the Henderson Center. We should have a great one, and I'm hoping that a lot of people show up. I don't know if any Hilltopper fans have traveled, but let's hope that there's a big crowd for this one tomorrow.
There'll be some red there. I think we've got a few coming over, so that'll be good.
Christmas colors, green and red. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Randy, thanks for doing it
Paul,
as always.
Enjoyed it as always. See you tomorrow night.
Appreciate it. Randy Lee, the longtime voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. More coming up, including your text 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Carry my Christmas tree.
Zoe, this thing weighs a ton.
Drewski, lift with your legs, man.
Santa! Did you get my letter?
He's talking to you, Bridges.
I'm not that.
Of course he did. Right, Santa?
You know, my elf Drewski here, he handles the nice list.
An elf? I'm 6'3". What everyone wants is iPhone 17. And at T-Mobile, you can get it on them. That center stage front camera is amazing for group selfies. Right, Mrs. Claus?
I'm Mrs. Claus. Oz's much younger sister. And at T-Mobile, there's no trade-in needed when you switch, so you can keep your old phone.
Or give it as a gift.
And the best part, you can make the switch to T-Mobile from your phone in just 15 minutes.
Guys, my side of the tree is slipping.
Timber!
The holidays are better at T-Mobile. Switch in just 15 minutes and get iPhone 17 on us with no trade-in needed. With 24 monthly bill credits for well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 device connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Finance agreement, 256 gigs, $830. Eligible port in a new line, $100 plus a month plan with auto pay plus taxes and fees required. Check out in 15 minutes or less per line. Visit T-Mobile.com.
Before Santa loads up his sleigh, make sure you've wrapped up a deal of your own with holiday savings at Hometown Chevrolet. During the 25 Days of Savings event, you'll find great offers on new Chevrolets, along with quality pre-owned vehicles for every driver and every wish list. Whether you're upgrading for the winter, planning ahead for the new year, or treating yourself just because, the team at Hometown Chevrolet is ready to help you find the right ride at the right price. Visit us on Emmett Avenue in Waverly, or online at yourhometownchevy.com. Hometown Chevrolet, drive home the holiday cheer.
Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text? Online loan payments? Even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit metrocommunityfcu.com today.
Cold weather's on its way. And what do you want on those cold, chilly evenings? A warm blanket and a hot cup of cocoa. Well, you know who else wants the same comfort? Mice. Messy, uninvited guests. They sneak in and leave droppings, chew through your food and packages. Don't let mice take over your home this fall and winter. Call K&B Pest Control. We will kill for your business. Call today, 304-523-4281.
Looking for midweek fun? Head to Frank's Place, where every night's a party. Wednesdays are full of brains and brews with trivia night. Grab your crew and show off what you know. Thursdays, crank it up with Singo Bingo. Music meets bingo for prizes and laughs. Then Fridays, we hand you the mic for karaoke night. Sing your heart out and start your weekend right. The fun never stops at Frank's Place. Great drinks, great friends, and good times. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player and proud supporter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14, and I watched her struggle. But MDA helped her get the best treatments and care, and they also help kids like my buddy Ethan.
My name is Ethan. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before. From day one, they've treated me like family at my local care center. AMDA is the only one that funds over 150 care centers across the U.S. to help provide state-of-the-art care for adults and kids like me.
MDA has been transforming the lives of people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other related neuromuscular diseases. They fund the research for breakthrough treatments, care, and cures. And MDA provides support to thousands of families like mine and Ethan's in communities like yours. Thanks to MDA, kids and adults can live life to its fullest. Join us and learn more at MDA.org today.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We continue on with this Tuesday edition of Your Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann, with our text line still open at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. If you just joined us, first up, you can go back later and catch our interview with the voice of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, Randy Lee. That'll be available in our podcast soon. You can listen to that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or just wherever you get your podcast. Or you can just head on over to our website. We post that daily there at WRVC.com. Also, I'm giving away a pair of tickets today. And actually, I got to give away 2 pair because I forgot yesterday. I'm sorry, but let's make it up. So you know the drill. And if you're not familiar with that, make the show entertaining by texting right now, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255, and we will enter you into a random drawing of all the people that text, and we will text you back later after the show to let you know you won. The only thing I ask is you got to pick them up tomorrow between 1 and 5. That's when the vault opens with the tickets. Let's go to the text line. Texter says, "Hey, Paul, great interview. I appreciate that. Thank you." Text continues, "I feel like the city is emotionally down and walking around dazed and confused on how the football team ended the season. But on the bright side, is Western Kentucky coming to town, and the Herd's shooters are going to go off on them. I'm expecting 15 three-pointers going down tomorrow. We need this big win to shake all the negativity and turn the season around. What say you? Rock on, go Herd." That's a good point. I appreciate the text. First of all, I didn't mention this with Randy. I'm sure he knows. He's got good broadcaster prep. But Marshall is undefeated at 5-0, all 5 wins, when Marshall makes 10 or more three-pointers. And, of course, when the Herd makes 9 or less, Marshall 0-4. So 5-4, what's been the big factor of this? Well, the free throw line didn't help. But when Marshall is better from the three-point line, Marshall has been undefeated at this point. Rebounding, the Herd's a little bit better than Western Kentucky, so I'm interested to see how that one breaks out. And I'm also interested to see if Marshall can kind of curb the unfortunate dilemma of sending the other team to the line too many times. You don't want to cut this team back and say, look, can't play your game, can't be aggressive. But at the same time, Marshall is just giving away free points by its own devices or just bad officiating. A little bit of both. I'll leave room for both. But Thundering Herd obviously having a tough time on the road shooting. Earlier in the week, Coach Jackson spoke about the shooting and thinks it's actually going to stabilize. He said he wants his players to take the right shots and stick to the process.
Yeah, I think we took a few tough ones at Ohio. Maybe it's because they went up and you know, everyone thinks it's a 10-point play, right? You still have to get in the paint. You still have to move the ball. I think a few of our guys took a few tough shots. I'm fine with shooting fast. I'm fine with shooting free. But I also want quality shots. So let's touch the paint. Let's move the ball around. And if you take 10 open, clean looks and you miss 10, I want you to shoot the 11. But I don't want guys taking bad shots just because they look at the scoreboard and we're down 10. So we have to remain focused on the process. It's a day-by-day deal. We have a few more games before we hit conference. But, again, even through this skid, we're just focusing on the process of getting better and better each day.
Yeah, that's the good news. This is non-conference right now. This is, I don't want to call this practice for conference, but this gets you ready for conference play. And if Marshall can get through this losing skid, start winning again, and go into conference with a little bit momentum, I'm okay. After all, this is, at the moment, a one-bid league. I hate to say that, but the only way this team goes to the NCAA tournament is winning the conference tournament, and you got to get through conference play in the best situation possible. That means be ready to go every single night. And interesting that I had that thought because Coach talked a little bit about that, and that kind of ties into that thought. You're getting ready for conference play. Obviously, The way this conference tournament is structured, the better you are is the better your chance to get to the championship game. If you're back in the standings, you're going to have to start from day one and work your way up through this incredible long gauntlet, which is murderer's row, but at the same time, it protects the teams that had the better conference finish. And so you're going to have to learn real quick that every night you got to come to play. If you don't come to play, you're going to lose. And Coach Jackson in his presser emphasized that Division I basketball leaves no margin for error, and consistent effort is non-negotiable.
We're emphasizing, me and my staff both, we're emphasizing that daily. You know, the margin for error at this level is so small, right? And you show guys, because some guys are from the show me state, so you have to show them. You can tell them. But then until they see it or get in live action, it's like, oh, now I see what the coaches were talking about. The margin of error is so slim at this level because everyone has good players, and especially now with the transfer portal. You know, WKU, they have guys from LSU. They have, you know, first team, second team, all league guys on their roster. You know, they bring a second team guy off the bench. Well, last year at his previous school, he averaged 13, and he was a second team all league guy. So it's talent all over the floor. So the margin for error is really small, and we must, again, play with that competitive mental focus and the competitive stamina for the whole 40 minutes plus.
Our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Let's get to a couple before we hit the break. First up, texter says, Paul, nice interview. Thank you. I appreciate that. After a couple hard losses the past two games, we need a good win, especially over a, quote, rival team. Absolutely. I appreciate that thought. Yeah, it's a rivalry to me. Also from the text line, texter says, I still wouldn't mind for Western Kentucky to get in the Sun Belt. I thought we had a good rivalry with them in football and basketball. A win for Marshall over them tomorrow would help them get back on the winning track. Tell their announcer to go for a thundering herd with melted cheese. It's the best. Go herd. Randy knows. Randy is aware. He knows. You can't go wrong at Tudors. Appreciate that text. We will get more, and we're going to give you an opportunity to win a pair of tickets to go see the Herd take on Western Kentucky. Text the win, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
You just can't stop once you've tried Scraggle Pop. Scraggle Pop kettle corn has become a favorite snack throughout the tri-state area, and they are now expanding beyond. This Christmas season, come visit Scraggle Pop at the Huntington Mall or get it from Food Fair and a number of great tri-state retailers. They have an assortment of delicious flavors like cinnamon, caramel, Chicago blend, and of course the original blend of kettle corn that started it all. Grab your favorite kettle corn blend along with frozen sweet tea, lemonade, or hot apple cider. Take home a beautiful Christmas tin for yourself or as a gift for family and friends. Scraggle Pop also offers mini sports team tins for the sports fan in your life. So check them out today at the Huntington Mall. Scraggle Pop now ships nationwide. Visit their website at scragglepop.com to send your loved ones a tin of their favorite flavor. You just can't stop once you've tried Scraggle Pop. scragglepop.com.
Earn more with 4 at the best community bank in the Kanawha Valley, Poca Valley Bank. Poca Valley Bank is now offering a certificate of deposit special, 10-month APY, annual percentage yield 4%. Take advantage of this great rate to grow your savings. For more information, stop by one of the 8 Poca Valley Bank locations today. Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter.
Certain terms and conditions apply. Rates based on minimum annual percentage yield. Subject to change without notice. Minimum deposit required of $10,000 of new money not currently on deposit with Poca Valley Bank to receive APY. Member FDIC.
Looking for midweek fun? Head to Frank's Place, where every night's a party. Wednesdays are full of brains and brews with trivia night. Grab your crew and show off what you know. Thursdays, crank it up with Singo Bingo. Music meets bingo for prizes and laughs. Then Fridays, we hand you the mic for karaoke night. Sing your heart out and start your weekend right. The fun never stops at Frank's Place. Great drinks, great friends, and good times. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
home.
Let James Family Outfitters help Santa with your Christmas shopping list. New holiday arrivals from Simply Southern. Personalized belts and key tag. 10% off camo and UK apparel. Dusters, vests, jackets, and hats 10% off. Women's fashion boots 10 to 20% off. While you're there, register to win a $250 shopping spree. Drawing held December 22nd. No purchase necessary. Stake your claim. See the folks named James. 507 Carroll Malone Boulevard, Grayson, Kentucky.
Here's another Kindred Community Chatter brought to you in part by Secure Construction Company in Huntington. Whatever your roofing needs, they take care of everything. Secure Construction is home improvement in secure hands. SecureConstruction.com. The Marshall University Volunteers in Therapy Pro Bono Clinic, located on the Marshall campus, provide free physical therapy to those that don't have insurance or have exhausted their PT benefits. They're open 2 afternoons a week. Phone 304-696-2399 to set up an appointment.
Catch all the action of Ashland Tomcats basketball all season long on your radio home for the Tomcats 97.9 The River. The River has you covered for each and every Tomcats basketball game, both home and away, as the Tomcats look to bring home another championship. Download the app today or listen online at 979theriver.com. Ashland Tomcats basketball on 97.9 The River is sponsored by Kentucky Farmers Bank, McLeod's Body Shop, and Community Trust Bank. Ashland Tomcats basketball from Kindred Communications.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player and proud supporter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14, and I watched her struggle. But MDA helped her get the best treatments and care, and they also help kids like my buddy Ethan.
My name is Ethan. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before. From day one, they've treated me like family at my local care center. AMDA is the only one that funds over 150 care centers across the U.S. to help provide state-of-the-art care for adults and kids like me.
MDA has been transforming the lives of people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other related neuromuscular diseases. They fund the research for breakthrough treatments, care, and cures. And MDA provides support to thousands of families like mine and Ethan's in communities like yours. Thanks to MDA, kids and adults can live life to its fullest. Join us and learn more at mda.org today.
We continue on with this edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Let's go back to the text line. Texter says, Paul, the Herd snaps the losing streak and wins tomorrow by 3 or less. I appreciate the thought. 3 or less. You know, I don't want a 3 or less. I want a 10-point lead. I don't want to see a 3-point game. Now, it would be exciting if we got a close contest like that, but I don't want to see a 3-point win. I want to see some points scored in this. If you look at the last few games, Marshall lost 90-82 last year, and then when the two teams played back in 2022, it was a 2-game series. Western Kentucky won 86-72 and then won 78-69 over the Herd. So I want to see some points put on the board. We're going to see probably a lot of points. Defensively, Marshall is giving up almost 80 a contest. Western's giving up almost 80 a contest. Marshall's putting up slightly over 80 a game, and Western Kentucky is scoring almost 86 a game. So we're going to see a lot of points on the board tomorrow, unless the two defenses step up. And again, remember that stat. When Marshall shoots 10 or more, hits 10 or more from the three-point line, Marshall is 5-0. So if Marshall can get 10 threes, Marshall's got a good shot of winning the game. And that's going to do it for this edition. Stick around. We're going to make two of you a winner with our tickets. Also from the text line, hey, this one snuck in real quick. Let me get it in quickly. The texter says, the Herd needs a solid double-double out of Fricks and more of Kai Spears. Go Herd. I like Kai's game when he was on the floor. Kid really took advantage of the opportunity to get out there, played, I thought, a aggressive game. Gave the team a little bit of a spark, or at least he was trying. So I like to see Kai come off the bench a little bit more. So that's going to do it from the text line. Back with you tomorrow. We'll be at the Cam Anderson Center getting you set for Marshall and Western Kentucky. Have a great night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.